Hello, WordNerds! Welcome to 2021! Oh my gosh, it is so weird saying that. It's like a Star Trek episode or something. But we made it, and you all made it. Welcome to tonight's chat, where we're just going to have a grand old party and celebrate the new year and talk about stuff that went well and went bad last year and stuff we're looking forward to this year. And I'm just going to have a nice relaxing chat time. So why don't we just kind of go around a little bit and talk about our holidays? We did do a bit of a hiatus, and I think all of us needed some time off. Yeah, so I myself had my parents and I and my boyfriend had Christmas dinner. That was nice. And then I just read a whole bunch and finished my Goodreads goal. And that was it. That was my whole holidays. It was great. How about you guys?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same. A lot of reading. Stayed home. And it was fun. I've never done a Christmas at my house before, and we had already been planning to do it, so that timed out interestingly. But it was really nice and very peaceful, and just read so many books. I think I did the math, and in quarter 4, I read 30 books.
Whoa, good job. Damn.
I read so many books in quarter 4.
What, everybody did get any like cool writing or reading related stuff for Christmas? I didn't get a single book for Christmas this year. Wild.
I got some cool writing related books. I got one, I technically bought myself gifts this year because I was like, I know exactly what I want. So I got Pity the Reader on Writing with Style, which is interesting so far, but it's very like old white writer dude, which is like, I expected that. It's still very interesting, but there are a few like eye-rolling moments where I was like, okay, yeah, you're amazing. I get it. And then The History of Magic, because it's basically like from alchemy to witchcraft, from the Ice Age to the present, like everything to do with magic, through humankind, essentially. So I'm really excited to read that for like all things research. So those are my 2 books this year. Oh, and the latest V.E. Schwab one. Addie LaRue.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't get any books either, but I did get a gift card from my parents, so that will be buying a couple books.
That will be books.
And then, like writing adjacent, but I did get a Clever Fox planner, which I'm very excited about. So I did not do like any plannering last year because 3 months into the year I was home all the time. So I'm excited to organize my life a little bit more.
That's exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. I got one book. I got Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark, I think. It was one of the horror finalists for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I've been working my way through that list. So
Oh, cool.
it's very good so far. I'm only like 20 pages in, but it's very good.
I did the same as Erin and bought myself a couple books, which was just like books I loved in ARC format, I don't even think they're both ARCs. I've read them in ebook and I wanted physical copies, so I got The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Cole and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
So nice. Oh, I see in the comments Stephanie was gifted Witches of Ash and Ruin. So hey.
That's so cool.
Hope you like it.
If you're new here, that is Erin's book.
Yes,
you
Many copies
you
of
got
it
the
in
right
room.
side this time.
I did. I'm just reading books and I pat myself on the back for that. For the first time.
Shout out to people in the discussion section. We've got a lot of people here, a lot of familiar names. We're so glad to have you here. Let us know how your break was. Let us know what you read.
I was excited to just regular answer Kaylee's question until I saw the correction on it, which made me way more excited because I'd actually forgotten that we wanted to do reading sprints. So.
Yes.
Vanessa said she got the history, or she got the Midnight Library. I just finished reading that. It was really good.
I just got the audiobook for my library.
Oh, nice.
Very good.
Had my eye on it for a little while.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Fast read.
Nice. The last book that I finished in 2020, it's going to get weird saying that, was A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabathir. Oh my god. I think I sent the WordNerds like a Snapchat of this, but like when I finished that book, I was like heavily like viscerally sobbing my eyes out. Like it was such a good book, and like oh my god, it's absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend, if you haven't read Ember in the Ashes yet, or if you only read the first one, like continue with this series. It's really intense, just be warned. But
better.
Oh my gosh, that final book like gave me hope again. I was like, this is how you write the final book to a series. Oh, fantastic.
With regards to the reading sprints, I actually tried it. I'm in a group chat with people who do word sprints, but I was taking a week off of writing. And so I was like, well, I want to be included, so I'll read. And there were a couple of us who were reading, and it was really fun. We just like popped in like, oh, is this many pages? Things are getting good.
Oh, okay.
Very fun.
Yes, we will definitely be doing one of those.
We don't have a date set, but it's going to happen.
And in our video on Tuesday, where we're going over our like quarterly stuff and usual stuff, we will announce some extra writing sprints that we're going to do this month, along with our usual. We have one Sunday, one a month, which is, I want to say like the 4th Sunday. There's a lot of Sundays this month. I don't know. It's later in the month, but we're going to do at least 2 weekday write-ins at points during January. So we'll have those dates for you on Tuesday.
Yes, all the reading, all the writing.
Yeah, I want to get a head start on reading this year and like, I don't know, get some momentum with my Goodreads goal, I think. Like I finished a book yesterday and now I'm reading a short book. I'm like, I'll just get like a nice chunk done. Although seeing Megan's list just tick by, I'm like, I'm never going to keep up.
I actually want to keep track of the books I read this year, which will be a first for me because I have a goal of 50. I've never actually had a goal before. Like I just read whatever. So
I was going to Snapchat you guys. I set my goal at 52, which I think is what Megan does.
Yeah.
And she liked it or someone else liked it on Goodreads. And as soon as I saw it and I'd already read one book, my brain goes, well, what if I did 100? It's fine.
I read one so fast.
Yeah. That's clearly the next level to jump up to is just jump.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
I could read 2 books a week consistently all year.
Yeah.
Well, Emma, you did 100 like what, 2 years ago, last year?
2 years ago.
I read like
Yeah.
2019.
I used to
Oh
do
my
100
God.
all the time. And then
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, mine last
That
year
was
was
my
80.
peak.
Last year was such
Yeah.
a slump for me. That's why I finally made a 50 goal because last year was bad.
last year was
Yeah,
the
out of
worst year I can remember.
Yeah.
out of
This year, I can
I've been doing the
Last-
Goodreads reading challenge since 2014, and last year I read 42 books, and it's the least I've read in any of those years. Because
I don't
2014 was 45, and everything else has been like 60 or higher.
I don't know how much I read, but it wasn't even close. to
Really
40.
says something about the year that we had like more time at home, but just not as much reading. Unless you're Megan, who listened to audiobooks.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of the reading that I would do before was when I was on my way to work. Like I'd read on the
Mhm.
bus, or I'd have an audiobook in when I was, when I was like going to class in between or like whatever. So then I didn't have that anymore, and suddenly I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just like watch a YouTube video. And then now I had to definitely like kick myself at the end, being like, no, like use the time that you have now that it's the holidays. Actually read.
Yeah, I listened to audiobooks on my commute back when I had a 40-minute commute. Now I have like a 10-minute commute. So
Yeah.
Right.
One of my
Yeah, my
goals is,
commute is I get out of bed and I go to my other room.
one of my goals is like walking this year. So I want to really heavily incorporate audiobooks with like walking around the neighborhood and stuff. Cause like if I think we talked about this earlier, but like if I'm doing housework or something, I get distracted and I like don't take in the audiobook as much as I would like to, which is why I don't think I read as many audiobooks as I would like to now. But I'm already a little bit in like a few chapters into the Douglas Adams one. So thank you for Helen was the one that was like, just download it by Stephen Fry. And I was like, I love Stephen Fry. So I just downloaded all of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And I had like really gotten into the habit at my old job. I had time where I could read, and like it was a part of my job too, was like keeping up with the books at the library. And so I could count it as work. And now I don't really have that in my current job. So So like I want to start like reincorporating, like I used to, you know, like read during my lunch breaks or like read at night before bed. And I had stopped doing that because I was reading so much at work that at home I was like, just gonna scroll through TikTok. So I need to get back into the habit of reading during my free time.
Oh man, one of the best things and worst things about 2020 was TikTok. Thank you for the latest and newest, most interesting time suck that I've had for a little while. Like, oh, it's so fun.
That was a lifesaver for me, honestly. Like, if I was stressed, it would just turn my brain off and like teach me things or watch people dance or whatever. So it was a good thing for me in 2020. We'll see about this year.
I don't even have TikTok as like an excuse. I just couldn't seem to like turn my brain on to like get into a series. Does that make sense? Or like even a book. And it was the same with Netflix shows. I just watched The Office and Community over and over. I know Kaylin was talking about this with us the other day. Like, you kind of have to sit down and commit to a new series or a new book, and it takes a little bit to get into it. And I just didn't have the capacity to like, I don't know, to do that. It's like seems like a passive thing. It shouldn't be an effort, but my brain was like, no, nothing new. We're just gonna watch The Office over and over.
It's a comfort thing, right? Especially like last year. Like I reread a lot of books last year because I think I was looking for that comfort where it was like a new series. Like, this is new and scary. I don't want it right now. Like,
the security blanket is a good description of it. I know because The Office came off of the US Netflix, but it didn't come off of Canada Netflix, because when Kaylin first said that, I was like, oh no, panic. The Office cannot leave.
I don't know. I learned this year that reading is a big coping mechanism for me. I think, given that like so many of them were towards the end of the year. But I'm really hoping I can keep up that energy, but have no added trauma in 2021.
Yeah, right.
Dream big.
Yeah.
I think I like really need to work on like my attention span for things, because it's just like the longer books, which like I used to like go through like long fantasy novels so quickly, and now like it's hard for me to like focus and read more than like 10 pages at a time. So the book like usually if I'm reading books quickly, it's because I'm reading like romance novels. Like I read like 3 of those right at the end of the year, but anything else, even when I'm interested in it, just like takes me forever to get through.
The funny thing was
great because I have a Kobo, which is like the Canadian version of Kindle, but I also have a Kindle app, and I think that was actually like really good just to kind of for me to like scroll through, be them like interesting weird stuff or like one-shot things or like trash romance novels, and just kind of like, you know, go through and like, you know, buy them for like 99 cents. Be like, you know what? Sure, why not? Like, let's try out this really weird, very strange seeming plot line where the 2 characters fall in love. But it was kind of nice just to be like, just like something fast and easy. And it was like, oh yeah, all right, that's nice to be able to just like quickly read something again. I think that helped a lot.
I also find when I'm already like wasting time on my phone, it's like, okay, I can just click on the like Libby app, which is what I use through my library, and like read some books on there, versus like I'm too lazy to like get up and go like get a book. You know, like, okay, I'll just open an app and read it on my phone.
I had that with like what Rachel you were talking about. So like something kind of different and like not something you're used to reading, maybe the narrative or the way it's laid out. It was the same with the Midnight Library, because the Midnight Library was like short and the narrative style was different than what I'm used to, and that felt like, I don't know, fresh or something, because I read a lot of the same type of books. And I think maybe I got into a rut. And so reading the Midnight Library, it's like, this is very different. It's more literary than I usually get into. It's shorter, it's faster paced. So yeah, no, that was that. I read that in like a day. So
yeah. But I'm learning I don't hate literary as much as I thought I did. Now that literary is being written by like more modern people, like I don't like literary classics, but like more modern literary stuff, I'm developing a bit more of an.
I like speculative literary. Like the Midnight Library speculative literary. It's not just like, oh, I got divorced and now I'm sad. Let's write.
No, you can write about yourself and books in general. You like speculative insert genre.
Yes,
here.
But also, I think a lot of it is that I found like kind of like the more upmarket literary stuff too, where there's like the literary stuff that's like meant to be like barely understandable because it like makes the writer feels smart, I guess. And then there's like there's the stuff that's like literary, but it's like meant to be enjoyed by like a wide audience of people. Like the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I feel like is kind of that way.
Yeah.
And so finding that is like, okay, I can actually enjoy this.
Yeah, I started enjoying a lot more sci-fi this year, which is not really, I'm like fantasy all the way. And then this year I read like so many sci-fi novels. I'm so proud of myself.
There's a lot of really great ones out there. So.
Except for
really just like
a lot of them have plagues. I'm like, no.
It's funny because I don't want to read about plagues. I thought maybe that I would. When this all first started, I watched Contagion. Because when I saw it as suggested on Netflix or whatever, I was like, I really want to watch that. That's weird. I know that's weird, but I do. And everybody else was doing that too. Contagion was trending for a while. But maybe I'm burned out now and I don't want anything to do with plagues. No thanks. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Let's just move on from this year and never talk about it again.
I thought I would want to, I just did want to I don't know. I think I'll eventually want to read those plague books, but right now, even like TV shows that are acknowledging everything that happened in 2020, it's hitting like really close to home. Like I'm a big Grey's Anatomy nerd, and they're doing the whole pandemic thing, and all these characters are in PPE and stuff. I'm like, no, I don't like this.
I'm not far enough out for this to be
it's funny because that's something I wasn't sure about when my agent and I were talking about that. She's like, don't write anything pandemic related, pretty much is what she said to me, or, in this one particular manuscript we were trying to sell. And I was like, well, people want to read it and all defensive. But now that I'm reached a point where I'm like, I don't want anything pandemic related. I was like, oh, she was right.
I think I will by the time a book you could write and sell now. But 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I think I will want it.
Yeah. But when we were trying to sell to publishers, publishers were also like, I don't want to read anything pandemic related. So yeah.
I can't blame them.
Yeah. Really.
Hello, Kaylin.
Hello.
Welcome.
But I'm trying to remember the name of the show. I want to say it was called The Resident. I know it came on Fox because it came on after Wheel of Fortune, because we would watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune every day. And then when we would put our children to bed, when we went back downstairs, that show was on. And there was an episode where after every commercial break, they had a disclaimer up that they had recorded this episode in 2019, but it was about a coronavirus outbreak.
Oh, weird.
Oh, no. The hospital. That's the one with the Gilmore Girls guy, right? Matt, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I didn't actually watch it. I need to binge watch Gilmore Girls like crazy. I've heard many good things about it, but it was something to do with a contaminated ventilator that was being used that wasn't cleaned properly, and it had coronavirus on it, and it spread throughout the hospital. And it was just so weird to know that was written and filmed way back in 2019.
So weird. That's like when I first read Gideon the Ninth, and it was like, her name is Corona, Beth. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. That's her name.
I feel like the word corona featured way more heavily in odd ways in 2020 than I guess it's that thing where once you know about something, you notice it more often, but it came up everywhere.
Yeah, the Corona beer is just going to have to rebrand itself, because I do not think that is beer anymore. Sorry.
Yes. Did you read anything amazing in 2020, Kaylin? That's how we got to this topic.
I read not a lot this year that I can even remember. So I know I started reading some stuff earlier in the year, but then once isolation started, lockdown started happening, and I started working from home, my hours increased tenfold. So I didn't read much of anything this year. So last year. So this year I'm not going to put a number on it, but I'm going to give myself certain categories to read more this year, but I can't remember an actual book that I read fully. I read a couple things, I started it, but I didn't actually get to finishing it because that energy just was lost.
Yeah,
that's totally fair. I think
I've started and not finished a lot of books this year.
Yeah, I did. I am proud of myself for making myself get through Ninth House, because I will say that's one thing I started and stopped a few times.
I've started it twice now because I know I'll love it once I hit whatever that midpoint
once you hit a point, you do. But I really did have to sit down and be like, okay, now I'm reading it. It wasn't I need to pick this up type of feeling. But I did that with the Crows, and I was determined it wouldn't happen again.
I did that with, we were just discussing this in the pre-chat, I did that with Harrow the Ninth. because I know Erin had read it, and then she's like, "You need to read it right now," and so which is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth. And I know Megan is reading it currently, and I know it's so hard to get through because so much is happening.
It's so good, and I still don't know what it was about, but I like it.
And we talked about this when we did our book club on Gideon the Ninth. A lot of us listened to the audiobook, I believe. And I also listened to the audiobook, and I didn't want to reread the book before Harrow came out because I was reading a lot of things and just didn't want to make the time to do it. And so I didn't really have a choice. I kind of had to listen to the audiobook again because there was no way I was going to recognize a single name in that book.
Yeah, that wasn't a good call. I didn't. I just went into it being like, oh, I remember enough of it. Like I read a summary of it on Google, and then I went into this book being like, who are these people?
It's really hard to keep up with in audiobook form because there's time jumps now.
I did the audiobook, and then I also have the paperback or the hardcover because I know what I'll have to do if I want to go back, and once the third one comes out, I'm gonna have to reread the whole series. I still have no idea what happened.
This is making me feel like I'm just going to wait till the series is done and then finish it.
I feel like I'm understanding what's happening on a page-by-page basis, but I don't see the big picture yet.
I still kind of feel that way about the first book.
I don't know if you ever do. All the reviews are hilarious. They're like, this was so good, but I have no clue what happened in it.
When does the third one come out?
Is
it this year?
Probably next. Oh, it is next year now. Maybe. I don't know. It's Electo the Ninth, I know.
Yeah, no current release date or cover art, but
expected
in 2022.
Alas.
Well,
how did everyone's writing go in 2020? Did we do more, do less?
Back to books.
Pass.
All right, back to books. Okay.
Question.
Nah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I wouldn't say I got a whole lot written, but I made a lot of progress in the current work that I'm working on. So I was able to really kind of get a good idea of what I wanted it to be. And now even every day now that I'm working on it, it's changing a little bit, but I'm at least making momentum, which is more than I can say for the previous 4 years.
I think I learned a lot about myself this year, how my process, what works best for my process, as opposed to just continually struggling, trying out different processes. I found something that really works for me. So I'm going to still count 2020 as a win, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't have a terrible writing year. It's hard to look back because this year feels like it lasted a million years.
So
I finished a book and I queried that book, and then I have another book that's almost done now. So that's about what I probably would have hoped to have accomplished in a non-plague year.
That's what I really liked about keeping a journal / schedule book, because I felt the same. I'm 2020 has lasted a century and I have no idea what I did this year. So I actually went back and looked through my planner and journal and was like, oh, okay, I actually wrote one book and 3 proposals and this other thing at the start of the year. Otherwise, it feels like you've done nothing.
Oh, I did nothing.
You made task lists.
Yeah, the topic was writing. There isn't going to be a programming section.
You wrote the code.
You made a whole website. So
you made an app, which is really cool.
You helped Megan get writing done because she wanted to fill up the bar.
I got extra writing done because there was a bar and I knew it would go up and people would see it go up.
Yeah, I did finish a first draft in 2020. I keep forgetting I did because it was at the beginning of 2020. It was in the first half. So I did finish one that I've been writing for forever, but yeah. That was it.
Tasha with Kelly's productivity and motivation app.
Yes. It's amazing, and it's open for people to try out now. There's a huge Planuary event going on, and it is so cute and so cool. The first activity for it is to put in your dream big wish for the year, and when you go into Tasklands after you've made that dream big wish, you can see other people's dream big wishes in the stars. And it is so cute and so cool, and everyone should do it. And I definitely wrote and read more because of the like productivity challenges on Tasklands. It is amazing. And I know Kelly's not going to like talk it up as much as we will talk it up for her. But
February is our next week topic. So I can only self-hype 1 week a month, I think.
That's understandable. But we will not self-hype. We will hype you every week.
Force hype you.
Tasklands.com. Sign up now. You can help be part of the beta testing. It's so fun and very cute. And happy.
You can watch Megan's mega reading list fly by on the book challenge section.
Yeah, that's been the problem with 2020 is it felt like it was about 20 years long. So yeah, I didn't even remember what I had done at the start of this year, and then remembered, oh yeah, I literally finished all the edits for Escape to Witch City. Like that, I finished that book that has taken me 8 years, you know, like that's a big deal, but I had forgotten about that because it feels like it was about 10 years ago. So
yeah, you were working on that book when I first met you.
Yeah, when I first met Kelly too.
Oh, cool.
All of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a question from Vanessa that I did answer in the discussion section, but that I wanted to answer live as well for anyone watching after the fact. Tasklands is free.
And the plan is for it to always be free.
Yeah. You can support it on Patreon if you love it. So definitely I recommend that if you do enjoy it, but it is free for use.
It's still very much in early days. Like it's not, it is like an alpha testing kind of thing. So go into it with those expectations and hopefully you'll have a good time.
I do feel like what you're saying, Eric, like any year, once you hit the end or the start of the new one, when you have all these huge lofty goals, it's easy to look back and be like, I did nothing. Because look, especially with something like publishing, where so much of it is out of your control.
Yeah.
I know I really struggle with every year. I'm like, look at another year, same place I was before. But like, that's not the case. We've all written lots of words and we've all become better writers. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sorry, go ahead, Emma.
I was gonna say for me, like a big part of it is I feel like most of what I did in like the first half of the year, where like the first half of the year I like finished a draft, which was really exciting because I'd been writing the book for a couple years, and then like in the second half of the year, like I didn't even manage to read through the entire draft.
I did have a child though.
I did have a child. But yeah, so it like feels like I didn't get anything writing accomplished, but like I did. It was just way in the beginning, so it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're about at the halfway mark of this chat. So why don't we start looking ahead to the new year and the better things that are coming?
I want to know what books people are excited for.
Okay, I was going to say, because I know Megan is prepared for the what books.
Yeah, like, my Goodreads 2021 list has like 4 books on it. Let me know what books are coming out this year.
I don't know any books coming out.
Right?
I have Goodreads pulled up now. I am ready to add stuff.
What are we looking forward to?
Yeah, we talked about this in the Christmas chat, and I was like, I know there's a ton that I'm really excited about, so I'm going to write them all down now. We'll be ready.
Yep.
One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston.
Yeah.
For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten is next year.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Runaway Royals Book 2 by Alyssa Cole, How to Find a Princess. I'm very excited for that.
Did you read the first one?
Not yet. I'm about to get it.
I just finished it. We'll talk about it when you're done.
But I've loved all of her Royals books so far, so I'm already amped because I just found them all in the last quarter and read all of them. Sisters of the Snake by Serena and Sasha Nanua is coming out next year, and they were really early viewers of the WordNerds, like when we were a baby channel. And I'm so excited for their book to be coming out.
That sounds, even before you said they were WordNerds viewers, I was like, that sounds badass.
Yeah. It's about like, it's a fantasy with twins, and it's written by twins, and I am very excited.
All right.
I'm like pulling up my Goodreads app right now.
Right?
Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater.
Yes.
Next year, or this year. Oh my god.
This year. Oh my god.
The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang. The third in her like romance trilogy that has the kiss quotient. and The Bride Test.
Yeah. Okay.
Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart. I'm very excited, and that one has a gorgeous cover. The Dead and the Dark by Courtney Gould. We've got The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovalino. The Mary Shelley Club by Goldy Moldavsky, who wrote Kill the Boy Band, which was like a super weird, fun, creepy book. Blood Like Magic by Liselle Stambury. A Dark and Starless Forest by Sarah Hollowell.
Ooh, what's that one?
It's fantasy. It's very cool looking. The cover just got released.
Wait, say that again?
A Dark and Starless Forest by Sarah Hollowell.
I know, like immediately I need to know what this is.
Hers.
Just
by the title alone, I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have on my list, though I'm sure there's other books that I haven't thought of, is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee.
I also have a rec. I got to read like a very, very early version of this. The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin comes out.
This year.
This year, yeah. And it's very, very good, and it's witchy, so.
Sick.
I didn't know it was a thing until they said it, but I'm going to second Historic Blue 17s Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Clune. House in the Cerulean Sea was like one of my best books of last year.
It was
I didn't know there was another one.
Yes. I know I saw that. I was like, another TJ Clune back.
Yes.
The House in the Cerulean Sea is so good.
I have to read that one. Like that one was one that when it came out based on the cover, I was like, oh, I think this is a middle grade, and then everyone's like, no, it's like a regular.
Oh, like a middle-aged man.
Weird. I was like, oh, okay.
I can definitely see why it totally looks like a middle grade, but very much.
And
so.
like,
it's all good.
And like there are like if it was from a different character's point of view, it'd be a middle grade because like it's a bunch of children in an orphanage, but like the main character is a middle-aged man.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this blurb for Under the Whispering Door. The first line of it says, when a reaper comes to collect Wallace Price from his own funeral, Wallace suspects he really might be dead.
Oh my gosh. Love it.
Okay, I'm writing that down too.
Fantastic.
Two books that I have on my list because I have barely any books. I have The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna.
Oh, yes.
And then also Ariadne by Jennifer Saint, which is Theseus and the Minotaur retelling.
Oh my god.
And it's supposed to be like fans of Madeline Miller.
Yeah.
I'm like on a big horror kick, and they were like, oh, The Illuminated, or what's that one? Somebody told me Megan and Kelly had horror recs for me, and one of them
The Luminous Dead.
The Luminous Dead.
Yeah, that one came out 2 years ago now.
2 years ago.
It's so good.
Does that author have more?
Luminous Dead. I just have to add things to my bullet journal for 2021.
So hold on. The Gilded Ones. You said that's not out yet?
I didn't think it was.
I don't think so. I think it's like January or February.
Yeah, and Megan, you could like drop that list.
I'll put that whole list in the description right now, actually.
The Gilded Ones is February 9th.
Yeah, I knew it was soon.
Okay. I wonder, this one got pushed back then because I saw somebody like showing these like book boxes from Penguin. And I got one, the young adult one, and I got a copy of it. But this is like months ago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that'd be an art.
The name sounded familiar. I haven't actually read it yet. It's on the top of my like my book stack over here, but it says like on sale May 26th. So I guess this got pushed back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm really
March, April, May, probably because of you know what.
Yeah.
Do you know when We Hunt the Flame, the sequel? Did it already come out?
It comes out in January.
Okay. Yes.
I'm excited. Yes, I want to start that one so bad.
I haven't read the first one yet.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh yes, Hysteric Blue also said Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas, which I'm very excited about.
I was just reading the blurb for that as we were talking, and it's when children go missing, people want answers. When children go missing in the small coastal town of Astoria, people look to Wendy for answers. But I read as people go to Wendy's for answers.
I would read that book too.
Yeah, this is
I mean,
That's fair. Seems logical.
love it. I'm looking at my
Wendy's, and you're like, I know.
all your answers can be found at the bottom of a Frosty.
For the Wolf, like the very beginning of the blurb says, for fans of Uprooted and The Bear and the Nightingale, which are two of my favorite books. So I'm very excited.
Yes, I follow her on Twitter, and that is probably my most anticipated read for next year.
I'm like rereading The Bear and the Nightingale right now.
Megan, if you haven't read We Hunt the Flame, you should.
Oh, I know.
read it.
I was waiting till the second one came out.
Okay. I think you will really like a couple of the characters in there. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
one of my favorites.
It's really good at for tension. Like it's a really
so
good
good.
book. Yeah.
And the characters I love so much, and then the ending, I was like, you just tore my heart out. No spoilers, but oh my God, so good.
Let's see. It comes out in January. Well, it is January. It comes out in a couple days. But it's A Vow So Bold and Deadly, which is the third of the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series.
I didn't like the second book.
Really, I love the second book.
The first book, and I did not like the second book.
Really? Oh, so I love the second book. I thought it was, she expanded her world so well. Interesting. So that one.
I hate it when that happens.
I know. There's one that's called. Oh, wait. Does this have a date yet? Oh darn! It doesn't have a date. There's one. It's called Vile Vicious Creatures by Jessica Cooper, and I've wanted to read it. It's The Cruel Prince meets Pan's Labyrinth meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Ooh.
And I know the artist who did the cover, and it was supposed to come out in 2020, but now there's no rating on it. So now I'm like, okay.
I love the title.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Ooh, the cover for Witches Steeped in Gold is so pretty.
Okay,
Super beautiful.
So
And it comes out the day before my birthday.
Ooh, convenient.
Everyone's looking it up. Ooh.
We're all just adding books to our good.
Yeah,
I am. I'm adding literally every book that you guys say. I'm trying to type it quietly.
Oh, What Big Teeth by Rose Zabo.
Oh, I love the cover of that
Yes. Oh, it's so weird and creepy. Love it.
Ooh.
Another title that's so good.
Truly.
Like
how-
Google that without book. I just put that in Google without the word.
Books Before Birthdays. It's not going to be a title that makes anyone want to read, but it's Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who I know I seem to like all her books now. So that comes out in May. So I don't even need to know what it's about. I'm going to read it.
Yeah. Auto-buy authors.
Oh, that looks good.
What's I got in here? Into the Heartless Wood by Joanna Ruth Meyer. I really want to read that one. And A Complicated Love Story Set in Space by Sean David Hutchinson.
Ooh.
Wait, is that the actual name of the book?
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it so much.
I really like Sean David Hutchinson. It's a What If It's Us meets Black Mirror.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Okay, okay.
yeah, it's this boy wakes up on a spaceship, no idea who he is or how he got there, and then it's he's pretty sure that I think he's with two other people, and the spaceship's gonna explode soon, and it's this weird super trippy. I don't know. I love Sean David Hutchinson. So I didn't
And this
realize
comes out on the 19th, so I don't even have to wait that long to read this.
Exactly.
This is exactly what this looks really good.
I just remembered that The Project by Courtney Summers comes out this year.
Yeah,
And it's a cult book, and I'm
Yes,
very
yes,
excited.
she's definitely one of my whatever you publish, I'm gonna read it. It doesn't matter.
I'm like, Courtney Summers and cult? Okay. I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, Lore by Alex Bracken comes out this month.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
We also get another Witchlands book.
Oh, that's right. Finally. It's been so long.
All right, I've put as many of those titles as I could keep up with in the description box. So if you refresh the page, it should be down there now. If any of you mentioned one earlier in the chat and you remember it, put it in the private chat and I'll add it to the list.
Does anyone have any non-bookish things, TV shows, movies, What other media are there?
Is The Witcher coming out in 2021? Do we know
Probably not.
the next season?
I would guess it's not.
Because they had to delay filming.
Yeah.
It's expected for 2021.
Yeah. Because they didn't have one last year, right?
I think it came out at the beginning of 2020.
It did?
Really long. It came out this year.
Oh no, it was the very end of 2019. It was December 2019.
Remember December 2019? Like,
We're also
next
hopeful.
year's gonna be great.
I'm looking for my New Year's resolutions for 2019 for this or for
Why would
2020.
you hurt yourself like that?
Hilarious. Depressing.
I think for me, like I said, most of my resolutions this year are very broad, very attainable. I'm not really tying numbers to anything. Yeah. Like for reading, it's like I want to read something in every major genre. Des had a really good idea. I want to read a book that was published the year I was born. Little like quirky things like that, just to kind of get some reading done this year, way more than I did last year, obviously. I'm going to take a reverse kind of approach to what I'm going to watch. And instead of saying, hey, this is all the stuff I want to watch, I can't rewatch anything for a majority of this year. And for anyone who knows me, there's not a week that goes by that I don't watch at least several episodes of The Office. It is now not on Netflix, and I refuse to pay for like another streaming service. So I'm like, I know I'm going to fail on that on some level because I'm going to get all of the seasons eventually. But what we were talking about in our last chat was like this past year, like I just didn't have the energy to watch anything new. Like similar to why I couldn't really get into any like books or anything like that. I didn't have the energy to be able to divulge in something to retain information. So it was literally like work, feed my family, go to bed, repeat for a while. So I don't want to take away my comfort shows because I think they're important too, but I just want to watch something new. Like I just started watching Shadowhunters from Freeform. Of course it's canceled. Didn't know that before I started watching it, but and it sucks because I'm in season 3 now, and I feel like the actors are finally they're like getting into their roles, and it's getting really good. And I know I only have like 5 episodes left.
Oh,
but
too bad.
But I want to hit like all of the stuff that I have on my watch lists that I haven't touched for a year. So I just want to watch all of everything, basically.
Well, my current partner is part of the film industry, and I know that he is talking about how they're like they've gotten into the kind of the groove of like making sure everybody's safe and like testing every week and making sure everything is, masked here instead here and quarantine there, whatever. So I know that they're starting kind of like film industry starting up again. And they had to, I think they said they have to have a certain amount of their budget put towards COVID safety awareness and protocols and training and what have you before people even get to set. So they're likely going to start making things again fairly soon.
I think it's really going to depend
like
where they
waiting
make
for that
things.
one season.
Canada will make things. LA will not be making things right now.
Oh, true. Right. I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm Canadian. For the Canadian scene.
I mean, the U.S. doesn't seem to care. The U.S. is just going. If we die, we die. Apparently.
Yeah. So many of the shows I watch are delayed production. It probably won't be for long, but anything that's filming in LA has been delayed.
Support Canadian shows.
I remember what show I am excited for. In 12 days, we get WandaVision.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
This is the year of 4 MCU movies and like 6 shows. I'm pumped.
Yeah. Looking through like a list of seasons of things coming out this year.
Shadow and Bone this year. There's a preview, so that
the preview is so good.
I'm very excited. The vibes.
I know. As soon as that dropped, I immediately emailed like all of my friends, being like, "You have to watch this thing that just dropped." So excited. See, that's a TV show that I originally thought wasn't gonna work, and I can still sort of stand by that. But I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna be a good TV show. But seeing that preview, I'm like, maybe I should get my hopes up. I don't know.
And like, I don't know. Like, I feel like The Witcher was really good, and it's kind of like a similar feel.
Yeah,
it can work.
I think people are looking for something to like.
And it seems like the writer and director and stuff are like really into it. So
Yeah.
hopefully they
I'm
like
curious to
pair
see how
into
they
it.
weave it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. I don't know if it's
Multiple
gonna work
series.
because it's two very different things, and like they're technically different timelines. So I was like, how is that gonna work? But
I think they're making it one timeline, right? Like
I
it's
think
all
so. Yeah, because they didn't all interact with each other. So now I guess I have to do the thing where it's like, okay, this is completely separate from the thing that I like.
Yeah.
Everyone just happens to have the same name.
They'll probably put it all in the same timeline just so everyone can be young and good looking at the same time.
Like, yeah, right. Everyone's all young and hot all together.
They're not that far apart in timelines anyway.
Not too much. No.
It's like Six of Crows takes place like not long after
Yeah.
Chapel and Bone. So
I am looking at this site with like lists of all the TV coming out, and it says that Station 11 is getting a loaded series on HBO Max.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, just in case anybody doesn't know, is a beautiful book that's about the end of the world and Shakespeare. And it's great.
That's another example of literary fiction that kind of crosses the line into upmarket / commercial speculative fiction.
I need to reread that. It was so beautiful.
It was really good.
I would love to see a little mini series of that. I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hope so.
This says we're also getting that Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings this year.
Oh yeah, that thing that I forgot about.
I don't know if I need more Lord of the Rings.
It's not like a remake, I don't think. I think
Oh,
it's a
okay.
different thing.
Wasn't it like animated or something?
no,
That's an old thing.
this old.
Old
No.
anime.
I swear I saw something that was like, you know, the 2021 was like Gollum on it or something, but he was animated, so it was like, oh, maybe it's a
No, it's it's not.
cartoon.
It's not like the Lord of the Rings story. I think it's like appendices stuff or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
The In the Heights movie gets released in June.
Ooh, yes,
Yeah.
that was supposed to come out last year.
Mm-hmm.
With Vanessa said, I'm hoping to patent and start selling a video game I've been working on in 2021, which is very
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Cool.
Please feel free to tell us more. I'm curious.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know next week we're going to be talking about like our personal writing goals and like doing a planning party.
Mhm.
But does anyone have any like big things they're hoping to do this year? Like more general or
Today I got my bread maker in the mail, so I think there's going to be a lot of bread in my future.
Yeah, one of my goals is to try baking something new every month. So I'm excited for that.
That's really cool.
Nice. I definitely want to start doing more like, this is boring, but like more meal preparation. So I'm not like hitting dinner time and like, I don't know, I'm just going to order pizza, you know, like more prepared.
Mhm.
Yeah. Meal planning and fitness are the like boring, but I need to do it things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for like fitness and like health is more important this year than any other previous year, especially because like all I do is sit and work. Whereas like when I was in the office, I was like getting up, like walking around, going to other people's desks, going to the kitchen. Whereas now when I'm home, it's like my kids bring me things all the time that I don't even ask for, and I'm like, thanks, and I'm gonna eat it, obviously. But I definitely don't have as much movement as I should. But I think like my biggest goal for this year, and it's not something that, like I said, I'm not going to put a whole bunch of pressure on it, but I find it's realistic because we're so far in the beginning and I'm already halfway through, though, is to make sure that this manuscript actually gets completed and at least prepped for querying, if not already. I feel like that's realistic because that's within my control, right? I can finish it, I can query. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I need to have an agent and I need to have a book deal. So I'm keeping it very broad and very attainable.
Yeah, that was my problem. That was my problem last year with like, because I had the passion planner, and I actually kind of think like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I almost think like passion planner, yay. I almost think there's like a little bit of a flaw in like the original layout at the beginning where they're like, dream anything you can imagine, like sky's the limit essentially. Like what could you want if money and everything were no object in the start? And then you pick 3 of those things and you start to like work towards them. But obviously I picked like big shiny things. I'm like, well, crazy things, obviously. And then they're like, break it down into actionable steps. I'm like, I want like a book deal, but I can't make that happen. I can get a thing ready for my agent to sub, but I have no control over a publisher. I can't make them buy my book.
Step 1, write a good book. Step 2, write a new great book. Step 3, write an even better book, and just keep repeating till it works.
Exactly.
That was like something I actually didn't mind about the passion planner, because I knew like, oh, well, this is the big dream goal. Obviously, I don't have full control over that, but here's ABC, repeat what I need to do to get to the big dream goal.
That's kind of what I did, but I found it frustrating because I'm like, and to a certain degree, all of my writing goals are frustrating because it's like, like you break it down to the smallest level, and day to day, it's like, sit down and write. Like, I don't really need to map that out. That's just sit down and write, edit as much as I can, send to beta readers, send to my agent, repeat. Like, I don't need to really write that down, but I still do.
I definitely have write every day, like sit down and write every day as one of my recurring things on task lists. So I can check that off every single day when I actually sit down and write.
And then you can see like how many days it's been since you've done it. If you haven't done it, it's like, oh, this is 8 days late now.
I have the habit tracker with reading now because I want to like see the gap and be like, oh, okay, I haven't done it for 3 days or whatever.
I remember when I was like hardcore into to-do list, I had reading on my list for every day, and it worked really nicely because even if it was just like 10 minutes or just an audiobook while I was doing something else, I like actually got in the habit of doing it every day for a while. But it's intimidating.
That's my key. That's for me. Like, I want to be able to do something every day where it's either read or write, but I don't want to have oh, I need to write 1,000 words a day, or even I need to write 500 words a day. I just need to be in the routine of doing something with it every day. That way I'm in that headspace continuously, because if I have a lapse in my routine and I don't write today, the chances are I'm not going to write for a couple more days because I'm like, well, I don't really remember what I wrote. Now I have to go back. And it's like, that's when it's like pulling teeth. So it's like, even if I just even read a little bit of what I wrote the day before I go to bed, at least I'm in that mind frame. That way I can pick it back up the next day.
See, I'm like the opposite, where if I try and force myself, like I'm very much not an everyday writer. And for me, it's very important to not feel guilty about like taking a few days, taking a week off. Like no one's paying me to do it right now. So like, it's not my job, so I tend to just get really frustrated with myself if I'm expecting myself to do it every day. And then I start getting frustrated with it like I get frustrated with my job.
I think it's good to know your creative processes, because writers don't write every day. They're like creatively, they're not supposed to.
Yeah, okay. Big bursts on small days, but
I feel awkward already coming back to task lists again. But on our little writing challenge thing, where you can just kind of anything you did that was bookish, stop it. Megan actually recently did. Megan stared at her project for 15 minutes and then actually started. And I think that's amazing. That is part of the process. That is so totally something you should celebrate yourself for. So being able to be like, yes, I sat there and I thought about it for an hour, and that is a thing. You need to do that thing.
Yeah. I debated putting that on there, and then I was like, no, I got really frustrated staring at that page, and then I didn't walk away. I'm putting it in task.
Still part of This is the type of thing I'm like telling myself and learning, like trying to learn to be nicer to myself about it and not beat myself up about it, because like any kind of art, like writing, is such a weird thing, because there's the actual job where you sit down and you like write words on the screen or on the paper or whatever, but there's also other more vague woo-woo parts of it where you have to sit down and just kind of dream for a while, right? Or maybe you do have to stare at your paper for 15 minutes, or you have to reread to get like reacquainted with your characters. There's all of this like extra brain work that doesn't feel like work, or it doesn't feel like you should have to do it, and I will often beat myself up about that. But I think not doing that has consequences for the work that you then sit down and do, right? So that's something that like I said, I learned a lot, I think, about myself in 2020, even if I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. And that's one of the things, like, it's a process, and you have to let yourself have that process. Regardless of what it looks
and
like.
It changes all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like, every book really is such a different experience. And for me, having come off of like publishing a bunch of books, it's hard for me to celebrate the little wins that aren't as tangible. Of like, well, I've done these big things before. I don't care that I did this tiny thing, but I need to care about the tiny thing, or I'm not going to do the next tiny thing. And that's how you get to a book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Something I learned in 2020 was like, because my agent was like, hey, can you do these book proposals? I ended up doing 3. So the process was weird. I've never done this before, where I've sat down, I really quickly plotted out a book, wrote the first 50 pages, and then I did that 3 times. So it was like creating something new really fast in succession 3 different times. And what it made me realize was like, I need that dreaming time, that time where you just kind of like sit there sometimes for weeks and like dream up the story essentially. And if I don't do that beforehand, if I don't let myself stare off into the distance or stare at the paper, it's like this half-formed shadow story. Like it's not as fully realized as it should be. So that was like one of the huge lessons I learned. And I don't know, I think
I'm not going to do it justice. Can someone explain B.E. Schwab's like back burner thing?
Oh yeah.
She has a 6 burner theory or whatever, that at any one time she's got like 6 projects on burners on the stove, and some of them are small burners, some are big, and then some are like actively you're making something with it right that moment, so you need to have your attention on it. But then there's other things that are just kind of simmering where you're like waiting for it to boil
on the back burners. Yeah.
And it's just, those are your ideas that you're thinking about them, but you're not actively doing them just yet. And they need time to get to the right temperature for them to work.
Yeah, I really like the way she talks about that. I really agree that they just need to sit for a bit sometimes. So
yeah, that's what my big 2020 project. Normally my goal is like to revise 2 books and draft 1, or to draft 2 and revise, depending on what I ended on the year before. But this year I just want to like finish revisions on this book that I could be finished in a week if I like really put my mind to it. And then I have this one big project that is a fantasy, and it takes some of my favorite components from all the books that I've shelved in the past, and it's putting it into one big fantasy novel. And it's very intimidating, but I'm very excited to try and put it all together. And it's been simmering for a very long time.
Simmering, that's the word.
Sounds great.
Gently simmering on the back burner.
Hi, Caitlin's mom.
Likes to sneak in there sometimes.
It makes me so happy.
I love it when your guys' moms show up. Mom's not my mom. Then it's fine.
We had a question from Kaylee. Tips on generating ideas / outlining.
I feel like I could never help with generating ideas because it always just pops into my head.
Well, we did some workshops on that before. We have, if you look at the WordNerds channel, we have plenty of writing workshops, and I think over the years, like specific WordNerds have done little like writing prompt videos, or just like general ideas, or like putting stuff together. So there are plenty of things if you just search up on our channel. But I do believe that I think Helen is our resident plotter outliner. If you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, and there was one collab video I think me and Helen did that Kelly kind of orchestrated, where we both had to come up with a way that we kind of generated our ideas, and we both came up with the same thing, where it's just absorbing as much media as you can. So again, this past year has been kind of dead for me, but it's like watching, your favorite TV shows, reading some of your favorite books, even reading some, fan fictions or whatever, anything to kind of get your brain thinking of things, because like you never know when that moment of inspiration is going to strike. So if you're just sitting there waiting for it to happen, it's never going to happen. So you kind of have to put yourself in situations. You have to, I was going to say, put yourself out there. Don't put yourself out there in person this year, but definitely put yourself out there, like on the internet, just trying to make connections and stuff like that. Because again, like you never know what small aspect of a show that you're watching is going to just plant a seed in your brain that's going to grow into something completely different than what that show was.
Yeah, it's 100% where most of my ideas come from, and where I have the most fun coming up with ideas. Like reading The Luminous Dead recently. It's a very creepy, dready book. that isn't the kind of thing I would probably write, but there's a
It's
segment.
all in a cave.
But there's a part where the main character is watching videos from people who were exploring the cave years before, and it made me want to write like a exploring, like adventurers going through a forest or like that kind of vibe. I'm like, oh, I want to write this. And it was totally that gave me the idea, but it made me want to write something very different that just had a similar tone. You just find pieces in different places, and you'll surprise yourself how that could
all about the vibes. All about the vibes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of vibes, I want to say that's what Maggie Stiefvater talks about in her workshop.
I had to finish that. Jeez, I forgot.
I know, I still have like 2 or 3 videos I still have to finish off. But
it's really good. I watched all of it.
I really like what she did with like the mood plus idea plus idea. So if you have, like, often I'll get like a little nugget of an idea that's like, it's cool, but it doesn't seem like enough to write a story about. But if you have 2 of those and you can put them together in some way, and then you've got like a theme or a mood, like, hey, I want to write something dark and creepy, not outright horror, but maybe something that's like a lot of accumulating dread, you know, or like about a dark, creepy forest. And then also I've been wanting to write a book about like a girl with a sword. I don't know, shove them together and figure out what you come up with, right? So, and don't be afraid if you don't come up with something right away. Like we were talking about letting it steep, letting it simmer on the back burner for a bit. The more you think about it, the more you let it simmer, the more it should, you know, start coming together like an actual story.
Yeah,
like I'm suggesting people take ideas from these other media you're watching, but when you let it simmer and let it merge with other things, it's going to become something completely different from whatever originally inspired you.
Exactly.
I know some of us use Evernote, but I know I use Scrivener. So I have a Scrivener document with literally every idea I've ever come up with. I have listed in like different categories on this spreadsheet or on this document. It used to be a spreadsheet. Now it's in Scrivener. And essentially, like the book I'm writing now, it was 3 separate ideas that I had over the past decade that they weren't working by themselves. So I just kind of pushed them all into one. And then I kind of overdid it there for a little while where I got too overwhelmed because too much was happening. And then this past year is when I broke it all down and just made sense. But it was 3 separate ideas that I had been stewing on those back pots, but they weren't boiling. And then finally, I just like shoved them all in one big pot, and it was like, okay, I think I have something here.
We're doing this.
I'm making this happen.
For me, a lot of the ideas I have, like I'll think it's an idea for a book, and then when I sit down to actually like think about it and work on it, I realize it's not a story. Like it's just like a romance or like a world idea, you know. Yeah, and it's not like a whole book on its own. So the way I approach ideas, and I think Megan kind of does something similar, is that for me to start actually working on a book, like I have to have a character, I have to have a setting, and I have to have a conflict. So a big part of it is if I have some little like nugget of an idea, it's identifying which of those things it is. Like, is it like a world that I want a story to take place in? And then figuring out what type of character do I want in that world? Like, do I want an outsider? Do I want an insider? What's their relationship with the world? And then using that to help me figure out what would be a conflict that would challenge that character. And so whatever thing you're starting with, figuring out how that can connect to 2 other things. That's how I always kind of expand on like those little tiny things that are not enough to write a book on their own.
Yeah. I'm participating in this challenge that Susan Dennard is doing this year. She's doing a story a month challenge. And I'll put a link to that in the discussion section. But the premise is once a month, at the beginning of the month, she sends out some prompts, and there's a picture prompt, a word prompt, and an audio prompt, and you can choose whichever or combine them however you want, and you just have to come up with a story of any length to go along with it. And I think it's going to be really fun. It's already started to stretch me creatively, and sometimes, you know, having someone give you the kernel of the idea is all you need to come up with the rest of the idea on your own. So yeah, this month, I can't remember what the text prompt is, but there's a picture of like someone holding a really cute dog is the picture prompt. And then the audio prompt is like the hull of a ship creaking in a thunderstorm.
Ooh.
It's very cool. I put that link in the discussion box again, if you're interested in that. if you don't have any like kernels of an idea yet, nothing to even put on the stove, I think that's going to be a fun way this year to get ideas.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a subreddit. It's called It's just a writing prompt subreddit where random people will come up with an idea and throw it in there. And then you could either write a small, a short story and put it in the comments, or just think about the idea to where it's at least getting your brain, like those creative muscles are being stretched. You may not actually use it anytime soon. You may not never use it at all, but it's something that helps you kind of think of this one prompt this person's giving you and trying to develop a story around it. That way, when you do find something that works, you're kind of used to that, method of trying to make it work.
I've put a link to that subreddit in the description or in the discussion section as well.
Yeah, and if you're still looking for like outlining tips, I think we must have tons of videos on specifically on outlining.
I still preach the beat the cat. Like
beat the cat.
Save the cat. It's a beat sheet book, and it's called Save the Cat.
Save the cat beat sheet.
So don't beat any cats. We're going to create beat while reading Save the Cat.
Yes, I'm going to be using, we did like Secret Santa among the word nerds, and my Secret Santa was Kaylin, and she got me Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So that's what I'm going to be using for plotting my fantasy book this year. So I'm going to probably...
It really makes you think, especially that book in particular. Like it doesn't only go through the beats and like what the blueprint looks like, but it asks you questions about your characters and makes sure that you know what your character wants. Like, because there was a moment where I was reading it where I was like, okay, it's not clicking with me because what I thought my character wanted wasn't what my character actually wanted. It was like a different subplot of that was the part where it's like, oh, she thinks she wants this, but what she really wants is this. And that was kind of like that turn of screw at the end. But it's definitely eye-opening. I love it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like I've been in the weeds a lot of outlining because I'm coming off of multiple years of pantsing things. And so then I was like, well, if I'm going to come back to outlining, then I need to go straight all in Truby method, making character cubes, and it has not been working. So now I figured, I was like, maybe I should take a step back and just like look at basic story structure again. Not that beat sheets are particularly basic, like it's still plotting, but
it's kind of, I get the impulse to want to go all in.
Meta.
Like it's kind of fun to do all of the plotting stuff.
I like the Truby stuff in revisions more than I like it in the beginning. I have a hard time coming out with a cohesive thing.
So
yeah, I always break myself in corners when I used to plot like really like strict, like, hey, here's the beat sheet. Don't stray from this beat sheet. Like this is your Bible. But it was like I wound up getting so caught up in having to fit those puzzle pieces. Whereas now it's like I tend to plot in sections instead of the whole thing at once. And that's working for me. And there's in part A, I switched two of the beats around a little bit because that's like those scenes fit more with that beat than what was there. And it's all about finding that blueprint, but then making sure that that blueprint isn't set in stone.
It's funny because something like I have always outlined before going into the story, but I would often find I'd be like halfway through the story and realize I need to change like my entire outline. But something that 2020 showed me was like, I used to hate writing a book proposal, and I still kind of do, but like you have to write a synopsis, a book blurb, and the first 50 pages. And what I discovered happened for me was that in writing and rewriting and editing the first 50 pages, I'm like, oh, my outline has changed drastically. So instead of having to A, change my outline halfway through, and B, having to go back and edit, massive changes and into an entire, 100,000 word manuscript, I now know all of the changes I'm about to make I can take them into the rest of my manuscript, and I can change my, tweak my outline before I have to rewrite the whole entire thing. Or, even if I am rewriting the whole entire thing, I now have it going forward for the rest of my manuscript, and it's not too late to rewrite it, essentially. So, yeah, we have lots about outlining if you go to the WordNerds website that Megan so kindly made for us. I'm sure there's a whole outlining section.
There is on WordNerdsblog.com.
Hey.
Thank you.
And yeah, I did put those links in the discussion section, and I'm copying them over into the description box as well for anyone who's watching after the fact.
For now, I think the message question is probably a good one to end the night on, of what the WordNerds channel plans are for the year.
I definitely plan on being around a lot more. So
something's a little different that we're planning to do this year is a readathon at some point.
Yeah,
WordNerds have been talking about doing this for a couple of years now. This is going to be the one that we do it.
Yes.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So probably in the summer, I think, when we're on hiatus, we'll have like a 3-week readathon, maybe with a bingo card, just some challenges, and we'll all kind of share what we're reading and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing we said that we're going to do is just more writing sprints in general throughout the year.
Weekday ones.
Yeah.
Something else a little different is in our Tuesday quarterly video, we're announcing all of our yearly book clubs, so everyone has lots of time to read ahead on all 4 of those. We're going to continue with the book club, movie night, game night, 1 each quarter thing this year.
Yeah.
So we have less books you have to read.
Be sure to follow us. We're on other social medias as well. We are at WordNerds blog in all of those places. Also, please like and subscribe if you like us and want to be subscribed to our content.
We do videos every Tuesday and Thursday and live chats every Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, and next I think next week it's gonna be our Planuary planning for all the kind of
all things goals and writing.
We're gonna like break them down and
talk about SMART goals and all of that exciting stuff.
Yes,
it's going to be so fun.
Plan our faces off.
Yeah. Now I have to write that in my bullet journal. Plan your face off.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for who came tonight. We had a lot of people here. Thank you all, and thanks everybody for having a good discussion and for giving me a whole lot more books to put on my Goodreads list. It's becoming a little bit of a problem, but I guess it could be worse. Well, like we all said, thank you so much for being here tonight. New video on Tuesday. We're going to talk about our quarterly goals and updates and book clubs and what have you. So keep your eye out for that. Hope everybody had a nice holidays and a happy new year. And we hope to see you for all of 2021. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.